You are Locked On Celtics Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Boston, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, the Celtics with a great comeback in the fourth quarter, but they could not finish off the Indiana Pacers in overtime. The Celtics' first loss of the season coming on the road against the Pacers. Now it's on to Charlotte for the Celtics and head coach Joe Mazzulla. With that, we welcome you in again. We'll get to that in just a moment. With our latest Locked On Celtics postcast, I'm Steve Lennox, longtime play-by-play announcer on the basketball side, former national host with ESPN Radio and Satellite Radio. You are locked on with the Locked On Celtics postcast. We're providing reaction to every Celtics game on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, as well as the Locked On Celtics podcast feed, which is available wherever you get your podcasts. With our latest Locked On Celtics postcast, we're going to discuss the Celtics' first loss of the season. It comes on the road against the Indiana Pacers. All good things do come to an end. We do want to hear from you, our everydayers and our first-timers. Join the conversation, watching live on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Hit the comment button and join the Celtics conversation. Give us your one random thought on the Celtics' first road loss and first loss of the season. It can be anything. You can also follow me on the X at Lennox on Hoops with questions, comments, or concerns. This latest episode of the Locked On Celtics postcast brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. So I'm going to cringe right now. I'm going to go to the comment section right away. Let's see if we are back. Joseph, thank you. Mike, thank you. Let's get right into it. Forget my opening. Celtics lose 135-132 in overtime to the Indiana Pacers. Celtics with a terrific fourth quarter. We restarted this, and thank you to the folks who came back. Restarted the whole thing. We have audio. Just believe when I say, and we want to get right to you guys. So let's talk about this game. With us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, hit the comments. Our issues, my issues with the audio, behind us now. I don't want to call this a frustrating loss because in the fourth quarter, I really felt like Joe Mazzulla at some point was going to put up the white flag and say, hey, you know what? It's just not our night. But the Celtics had a terrific fourth quarter. And the Celtics approached the fourth quarter not like a team that was in a panic. It wasn't a frenzied finish. Tatum hit a three late in the fourth quarter. Pacers had a chance to win it at the end of regulation, did not win it. And then they went to overtime, where you thought the Celtics might carry that momentum. Mike is checking in. Tough loss. Amazing positive we can take away from this game is the minutes Queta gave the Celtics. Hasn't played in a bit and stayed ready and made a huge impact. And Mike, I appreciate you checking in with us. Embarrassed, but we move on. Yeah, coming out of the locker room, I wrote down in my notes as we were getting there, I thought maybe Joe Mazzulla would go to his bench early in the third quarter, perhaps provide a spark there. Down 14 coming out of the locker room, down 186 first time this season. The Celtics didn't hit 90 or more through the first three quarters. I thought Tillman, Queta, Kornet gave you a lot offensive rebounding-wise in the first half. But in that fourth quarter, Mike hit on it. Queta, Pritchard was on the floor down the stretch and in overtime as well. But in that fourth quarter, Toppin hits a three. Pritchard, great job in the corner, defender there, one dribble to his left, knocked down the three. McConnell then answered for the Pacers. This in the fourth quarter. Tatum, lots of dribbling on the three-point line, lost the ball in a turnover. And again, you're just thinking, not the Celtics night. Okay, first loss of the season. Pacers again went the other way in a hurry, ended up with free throws. Pacers had a 12-5 start to the fourth quarter. Toppin had a dunk, made it 112-91. And Mark Jones and Jay Billis said it on ESPN, 8:13 to go, this game far from over. Turned out it wasn't. It was 112-96 at that point in time. Got to within 11, Tatum a three, 10-point game. Pacers a turnover. Pritchard ran to the corner on a three, missed it, could have been a 7-point game. Then White knocked down a three. That made it a 9-point game at 122-113. Pacers got a loose ball. Siakam got to it first, but he traveled. Turnover. Under 2 to go. Pritchard missing on a three. Offensive foul on a screen by Jackson. Celtics get the ball back. Pacers allowing the Celtics to hang around at that point. Andy checking in. Indiana outworked us pretty much the whole game. Nice comeback, but I'm happy they didn't win. This is a perfect Psyche Joe teaching moment. I can agree with that, Andy, but the way you came back in the fourth quarter, what was it, a 14-2 run? Out of the timeout, Celtics got a stop. Tatum, three-pointer. Again, Pacers could have won it. At the end of regulation, didn't happen. And then in that overtime session, White a three after Halliburton had given the Pacers the lead, the first lead in overtime. Queta kept things on alive on a possession. Tatum missed a three. Queta in the paint, banged it to Brown. He was fouled, missed 2 free throws. Then White hit the three-pointer on the next possession, tied the game at 127. Siakam got 2 free throws. How about that one in the overtime session? Shot clock winding down. They reviewed it. Violation or a foul on the Celtics. The foul coming on Siakam with 2:10 to go on that shot clock. Celtics down 2 again. Queta, possession kept alive. Pritchard got in the paint, able to draw the foul. Made both free throws. Game tied at 1:30. Just over a minute to go. Toppin missed on a three. Celtics got the ball. Goaltending. Celtics first lead at 132-130 since they led 13-12 in the first quarter. But jump ball situation, Pacers won it. Jump ball, Shepard and Pritchard. How about that with 27-3 to go? And then Siakam with the big shot, the game winner, the three-pointer. For 3 quarters, I don't want to say that the Celtics slept-walked through the first 36 minutes. Great fourth quarter. And in that fourth quarter, the Celtics outscoring the Pacers 38-24. Again, down 14, tied it on the Tatum three. Ice veins. Ice in his veins, right? Ice in his veins. But then the Celtics didn't get the job done in the fourth quarter. But out and running. Pacers defended well against the Celtics, especially on the three-point line through the first 3 quarters. Once they got defensive rebounds or turnovers on the defensive end, they got out and they ran. And they got some easy baskets in transition. And again, through 3 quarters, and that Tatum possession in the fourth quarter, I mentioned it, where he's just kind of dribbling on the three-point line, then lost the ball. There are a couple of ugly sequences in that fourth quarter. But again, you're just ready to pack it in. But they're able to come back. Mike brings up a great point. And I was going to get to this one because this was a big one overall. The bench scoring, the bench was productive in a lot of ways. But the Indiana bench, in terms of points, outscoring the Celtics big time. But how about the points in the paint? 62-44. That's a lot of points to give up in the paint. The Pacers aren't like the Celtics in the fact that they're just going to live on threes. I don't like saying that the Celtics live and die by the three. Because there were a handful of occasions where the Pacers got out on the three-point line and defended, and Brown did it a couple of times where he got inside. Brown did that in the first quarter. Sometimes you have to establish in to work outside. That's kind of old-school basketball. Celtics will just start hoisting up threes in the first couple of minutes. And George Sedano out of the locker room talking with Joe Mazzulla saying, hey, we missed a lot of layups. They had a lot of open looks in that first 24 minutes close to the rim. Just didn't hit on them. But the points in the paint, big time. And the fast break points, Pacers had the advantage as well. But the Celtics get back in the game, end up falling in overtime. But, along the way, there are a lot of great signs. I don't have my ESPN box score up, and I don't really need it. But the Celtics, down by 4 after 1, had a 1-point lead in that first quarter. Did not lead again until overtime when White had the basket that put them up by 2 on the goaltend call. Down 10 at the half, down 14 after 3. Down 24 points at one point. Strong run at the end of the third quarter. Great finish to the fourth quarter. Tatum hitting on the shot. But you leave there thinking, you know what? Pacers played very well through 3 quarters. Really, almost 3.5 quarters. But the Celtics, wasn't all three-pointers. There were a lot of threes. There were a handful of three-pointers in there. But you go from there. Now it's on to Charlotte. But the points in the paint, along those lines, does Joe Mazzulla perhaps in the future, just get somebody off the bench that's going to provide that spark a little bit sooner? Can you put it in there? Can you put a guy in there? But, again, Hauser back after missing the previous 3 games. That's a good sign as well. Little rust, you can say, on Hauser. But the Celtics' first loss of the season, now 4-1. I believe, yes, Cavaliers won, so they're 5-0. Beat the Lakers 134-110 in Cleveland. We'll get into the box score. We'll get into some other things as well. Again, we reset. Appreciate people sticking with us. People, not you people. People. Appreciate people sticking with us as we got back on board with Locked On Celtics Postcast. Now it's on to Charlotte. And there's an early season test because you have to play the Hornets back-to-back nights, Friday and Saturday. And I like the back-to-back when it's against the same opponent. There was a time, and I don't know if there's any on the schedule. I haven't looked that far ahead. But they used to do home and homes where, Celtics would be in Chicago one night and back in Boston the next night to take on the Bulls. If that's not a thing anymore, that's great. Covering the Mavericks a few years ago, doing pre and post for the Dallas Mavericks when they had the home and where they had the back-to-back against the same opponent, that was a thing where they stayed in the city. Celtics can go out tomorrow, have a couple of nights in Charlotte. Might want to be in Los Angeles or Miami or even Chicago or New York, but you have a couple of nights in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't want to. I have a hard time characterizing this loss as a tough loss. I really do. Just in the sense of the way they came back in the fourth quarter. If they had just lost in regulation, cliche to say, but I'll say it maybe for the first time this year, it's the NBA, everybody makes a run. Celtics outscoring the Pacers by 14 points to tie the game up late in the fourth quarter. Game ends up going to overtime. And I thought, in the second quarter, I thought in the third, early on in the third quarter, it's going to take a lot of energy to get back into the game, but it was never really frenetic. They got some steals, they got some turnovers in the backcourt, so you can do that in the future. Derek White, a basket, steal on the inbounds. Capable of doing that. Again, it's hard to come up with something to say that this was a tough loss. It was, first of the season, on the road. You want to win. You want to finish it in overtime after you had the comeback in the fourth quarter. Did not happen. More Locked On Celtics postcast coming with your comments. Again, if you're with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, join the conversation. Let us know where you're at and join the Celtics conversation as they fall for the first time this season. And the Locked On Celtics postcast, Locked On Sports Boston, your team every day, presented by Game Time. Game Time has tickets for all events. Yes, for your sporting events, but they also have tickets for concerts and shows. Game Time has a new feature. It is called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats, so you do not have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time app allows seat views before you buy. The lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Customize your spot with Game Time. With Game Time, you get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference. With Game Time, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create your account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create your account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Well, the Celtics are going to be back in action Friday, first game of the season against the Charlotte Hornets, and they'll have back-to-back in Charlotte against the Hornets Friday and Saturday, and then they'll wrap up the road trip against the Hawks in Atlanta Monday, a week from Wednesday night, the Celtics home against the Golden State Warriors. We do want to acknowledge our everydayers for making Locked On Celtics with John Corrales and Locked On Celtics Postcast their first listen. Celtics drop a tough one. I will call it a tough one here because you came back in the fourth quarter, end up losing it in the overtime session. Pasca Siakam had a terrific game. He really did. Halliburton played well for the Pacers. It's a team that's looking to do some things under Rick Carlisle here for the 24-25 NBA basketball season. But the Celtics, again, got down in the first quarter, trailed after the first, trailed after the second. And, down 35-31 after the first quarter, within striking distance. But I want to get to a note because Tatum really wasn't feeling it from behind the three-point line. At 15 was 2 of 8 on three-pointers. Holiday did not score in the first half. White and Brown had 10 points apiece. Horford had 8, and Horford really wasn't heard from much in that second half. The bench had 14 points, but Siakam had 17 at the half with 5 rebounds and 3 threes. Mathurin did a solid job as well. Mathurin, the bench for the Pacers, 28-14 advantage in the second quarter as well. Again, with us on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel, hit the comment button and join the conversation. Flying V guy. Jaylen doesn't have, if Jaylen doesn't have it, pass the ball, play excellent defense. Wish in this case somebody else had taken that last shot. That's not nitpicking, but you know what? Brown, 43 minutes. Yeah, not a great shooting percentage overall for Jaylen Brown. So good point right there. I was going to get into the numbers and the box score in the third segment, but we'll do it right here. Jaylen Brown missed an awful lot of shots, 19. 11 of 30 and just 1 of 11 on three-pointers. Tatum better in the second half on the three-point line, but Brown and Tatum, terrific start to the season through the first 4 games from the three-point line. I said in the first segment where, the Celtics, I don't like saying that they live and die by the three, but I'm going to scroll down here on the box score because Tatum and Brown were combined 6 for 29. The team 33% from behind the arc, 19 of 57. Took 109 shots total, 57 on the three-point line. Pritchard, again, just missed out on a 4th straight game with 5 or more threes, knocked down 4. Had 16 off the bench. In terms of points, how about Queta? I don't always look at the plus-minus, but when it's a bench player, Queta was plus 18 on the plus-minus. Plus 18. Holiday was minus 19. When it's those extremes, that's when I sort of look at it. Saying that Tatum was minus 7, that's not telling us much. But Queta, that number tells you an awful lot. It really does. That number tells you a ton right there with what Queta gave. Pascal checking in. Pascal, always appreciate it. Love the fight that they showed. Yeah, that's one of the things. Next time you play the Pacers, you make adjustments against Indiana, and you'll take a close game against the Pacers. You had a chance to tie in the closing seconds of regulation. Tatum did that. So now, again, it's hard to say that, they don't have, again, this is a championship team. We're not talking about a team that is trying to get to the top of the mountain. The Celtics did that. There's one thing I want to bring up here because got into the ESPN pregame show, and I wanted to hear what they had to say. And it's the first time I've really heard where they're talking about the Celtics being a 70-win season. 70-win team for this season. That's on the national level. We haven't really talked about it through the first 4 games. 3 with the Locked On Celtics postcast. Not worried about regular season wins. Worried about being completely healthy come playoff time, come the spring. We still got the fall, still a couple, little more time left in the fall than we get into the winter. They also brought up Kristaps Porzingis like it's big news. The news is he's going to be back likely in December. Shams now with ESPN, no more Adrian Wojnarowski. That's a good thing for a lot of ESPN players or ESPN people because, a lot of them were mispronouncing Wojnarowski. Hit him up in the hallway one time in Bristol, said, Adrian, we got to talk. This is who I am. More importantly, pronounce your last name for us. I call him Shams because I'm still iffy on the last name from the former guy at Yahoo and now with ESPN. But he was talking about the Celtics have certain levels where Porzingis is going to have to reach. And I've said it before. Porzingis is going to have a big say as to when he comes back, but ultimately it is the Celtics who sign off on it. But there's certain things physically he's got to get to. With all the different things that are available to professional athletes these days, upper body, lower body. Shams was talking about that. But Porzingis has been here before coming back from an injury. Pasquale, 70 wins is a lot. Yeah, it is. And again, you could have sacrificed the late stages of the fourth quarter because all of a sudden it was within striking distance. I mentioned Pritchard had a chance on a three-point attempt to get it to 7. Didn't happen. Then White got it to 9. So it was single digits. And it was as much the Celtics getting back in. Again, never showing any type of frantic pace or anything. Just, you know what? We've been here before. We can come back here. If there was a sense of urgency, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. But they just sort of, hey, end of the regulation. That's why I thought overtime, yeah, just like Jay Billis did on ESPN, it's in the bag, right? Jump out to a 5-0 start, and that's going to put the Pacers away. But give the Pacers credit. Again, they played better. They were the better team on the floor in Indianapolis for 3+ quarters. They did not finish in the fourth quarter. That becomes a thing for Rick Carlisle in the coming days. Joe Mazzulla says, hey, guys, refocus. We don't want to make it 2 in a row. Celtics, I don't believe, ever lost more than 2 games in a row during the championship run a season ago. So right now, you don't want to end up 4-2 through your first 6. So go and beat Charlotte. You're not playing pissed off or anything like that. No, you're just going to go out and give an effort. Give a Celtics effort. That's what it's called. I wanted to say, give a professional effort. No, it's a Celtics effort. Complete Celtics effort. And then you try to steal one on Saturday. Take both games. Accidental migrant. Happy with the way the game finished. Regulation, yes. Overtime, no. But that's okay. That's all right. Again, there's no time to nitpick right now in the Celtics season. We're going to go deeper into the box score, and we'll give you some numbers of the night as well. That is coming up in just a moment. Steve Lennox with you. Locked On Celtics postcast. Celtics losing in overtime after outscoring the Pacers by 14 in the fourth quarter to tie it up on a Tatum 3. End up sending the game into overtime and losing 135-132. Hey, more and more, we do appreciate you being on board. If you joined us during our Locked On Celtics postcast, we had a hiccup in the beginning. We reset. We do want to tip our cap to those who had patience with us. I know it was frustrating. I finally saw the comments. It happened to me during the Red Sox season where I had 0 views, so no one giving me that alert. But we reset, and I do appreciate you joining us and checking in. Hey, we are here for you after each and every Celtics game. Locked On Celtics postcast. Mike Debate has you covered with the Patriots coverage daily on the Locked On Patriots podcast. Cam Stewart has you covered with the Locked On Patriots postcast after each Patriots game this season. And, of course, John Corrales is on board as well with Locked On Celtics. John gets terrific numbers. I know we are building our audience. I know people are still getting familiar with what we're doing after each and every Celtics game. John's coverage does not change. He continues to provide great coverage along the way for the Celtics. Speaking of great coverage, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter as Locked On introduces the Locked On Celtics daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Celtics newsletter. All right, we're going to get into some more numbers here. Numbers of the night. Celtics, first half through three quarters, missing outside, missing inside. Tatum, 5 of 18, got to the line. Brown only got to the line 4 times and missed 2 big free throws on one trip. But Tatum, 10 of 25 overall, 5 of 18. Low percentage on the three-point line for Tatum in Wednesday night's overtime loss. Finished with 37. 3 players with 20 or more. White ended up with 23. Brown ended up with 25. Just want to see if I can add it up real quick. 15, 31 bench points on one side. Benedict Mathurin was huge. Double-double, 30 points off the bench. And Toppin also had 18 off the bench as well. Mathurin with his 30 was a +3. Toppin with his 18 off the bench was a -12. Siakam had 29. So he was the second leading scorer along the way as well. Wanted to get into team stats, and I've got a couple of other numbers of the night for you as well. Largest lead was 24. We've touched on that a couple of times. Wanted to see offensive rebounds because Kornet in the first half had 6 offensive rebounds. The Celtics actually out-rebounded 41-33 overall, but 18-16 advantage on the offensive end. They were out-rebounded 57-51 overall, 41-33 on the defensive end, but a 2 rebound advantage on the offensive end. And again, a lot of that was from Kornet off the bench. Kornet is going to give you most nights exactly what you gave you. 16 minutes. He was 6 of 6 at the line, 9 rebounds total, 7 on the offensive end, 8 points. Again, Pritchard, 4 threes, 4 of 11. So overall, the shooting percentage on the three-point line for the Celtics, 33%. Obviously, they shot a heck of a lot better on the three-point line over the first 4 games of the season. So the Celtics, 4-1. Pacers, snap a 3-game slide. Numbers of the night, first time in 5 games where the Celtics did not have 90 or more points through 3 quarters. Led by one in the first quarter. Never led again in regulation, did not take their second lead of the game until White had the goaltend in the basket in the overtime session. Down by 4 after 1, down 10 at the half, and down by 14 after 3 quarters. Pritchard, again, 4 3-pointers, 22 threes in his last 4 games. And the numbers for Pritchard off the bench, we've talked about potential 6th man of the year. Going to be right there. I want to see something here. Yeah, let's put this up. Flying V guy, 68. Scal said Mathurin is going to be a star in the league. He's got the makings of it. It's coming along. It really is. I don't disagree with that at all. The Pacers, they got talent. Remember, Hauser back after missing the previous 3 games. Miles Turner was out for Rick Carlisle and the Pacers, dealing, I think, with an ankle injury. But, Mathurin, he's going to be up on the scout. He's going to be up on the scouting report, maybe highlighted next time Pacers and Celtics get together. Because you don't want him going off the way he did Wednesday night in the overtime win. He did a lot of good things. They've got talent. They really do. They're long. They can defend on the 3. They showed that through 3 quarters. I walk away from the game, though, saying they didn't close it out. It was much the Pacers, and again, credit them for the poise that they showed in that overtime session after blowing a 14-point lead through 3 quarters, led by 24 at one point. But they were they had 33 points in the third and held to just 24 points at 30 or more in each of the first 3 quarters, held to 24 points in that fourth quarter, and won by 3. Siakam, healthy. I'm not saying top 10, but is he a top 30 NBA player? He's always active. Long arms. They're long. They can defend. It's a matter of showing up every night for a team like the Pacers. Yeah, Pascal. Agreed. Hey, last time they faced each other, and this is what I'm going to close with because I don't want to hear anyone saying it, and I don't want to see an online headline or anything else. The last time the Celtics and Pacers met, Celtics were finishing off the Pacers and sending them to their offseason in the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you see a headline anywhere, hit me up on X over the next 24, 48 hours. I don't want to see anything along the headlines of the Pacers get revenge on the Celtics as they take the first meeting of the regular season after they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals last spring. I don't want to see that. Lazy journalism, ignorant headlines, whatever you want to call them. I don't want to see it. If you see it, send me the link at Lennox on Hoops. I may have said Lennox on baseball there. I'm still distracted the fact that we did not get off to a great start. I didn't get off to a great start. What's next? Road trip continues. 2 in Charlotte. Could have gone in 5-0. And then all of a sudden you're looking at it a little differently and saying, okay, 5-0, win against Indiana to open up the road trip. Did not happen, though. We know that. But then you go and you split the first back-to-back of the season. There are a handful during the course of the season for the Celtics, just like any other NBA team. But now, I take the Celtics Friday night. I really do. I take the Celtics. I don't think they drop a second in a row this early on in the season. Are they going to drop 2 in a row at some point in the season? Yes. Are they going to drop 3 in a row at some point during the season? Maybe. Didn't do it last year. Hey, as always, we do appreciate it. Do appreciate it. Always love the comments. Always love the back and forth conversation as well. We'll remind you one more time. We'll be on within minutes of the final buzzer. Celtics, Hornets in Charlotte Friday night, the same Saturday night as well. We took last Saturday off against the Pistons, went back, watched some of that game. Pistons are going to improve during the course of the season. We said the same thing about the Wizards. But we'll be on within minutes of the final buzzer Friday night. Celtics, Hornets, first of 2 in a row, Friday and Saturday in Charlotte. Then it's off to Atlanta to wrap up the road trip on Monday, then home against the Warriors and the Brooklyn Nets next week. I think, Wednesday and Friday. Your favorite podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Celtics Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. Start your day with all the free Locked On Celtics newsletter information. We closed it out. We want to thank our sponsor, Game Time. We do also want to thank you as well for your patience as we got underway with a delay. Hiccup on my end. Hopefully, it does not happen again. Again, we tell you and we remind you, Locked On Celtics Postcast follows each and every Celtics game all season long, all the way until a deep run into the postseason and the playoffs in the NBA into June. We do thank you for making Locked On Celtics with John Corrales and Locked On Celtics Postcast your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on the Locked On Sports Boston YouTube channel. Celtics fall in overtime on the road to the Pacers. First loss of the season for the Celtics. They'll try to avoid a second straight loss with the first of 2 in a row, back-to-back nights in Charlotte against the Hornets. That starts on Friday night. Locked On Sports Boston, number one place to hang out immediately after every game. Locked On Sports, your team, your Celtics, every day.